Would you trust a new Ford diesel with all the known issues on these trucks? The main one being the CP4 pump. When that pump goes out, it takes out the entire fuel system. But on top of that, you have the plastic fuel filters over here, which are known to crack if they're not maintained properly. We have the cold side charge pipe. If you continue to own a vehicle for long enough, the cold side charge pipe will eventually leak. There's aftermarket solutions though for all this stuff. HS Motorsports has a all metal fuel filter that goes right there, solves the problem, as well as a cold side charge pipe solves that problem. But those little minor things, relatively minor things, have some good solutions. But that CP4 pump is kind of the big elephant in the room. Ford still on this 23. This is a high output 2023 450. You'd think Ford have a solution by now for the CP4 pump, but they do not. So I see a lot of people jumping ship, going to Dodge. Dodge has a different pump. I don't know exactly what GM's doing, but I think GM is even doing something different now. But the problem with these Fords is the CP4 pump, and as we look around in here, you can't even really see the pump because it's so deep. It's not like it's a component that you can just put your hand on it. No, it's underneath the intake and down below in the valley of the motor. So we have to use our imaginations a little. Maybe I can find some B-roll of what this pump would look like, but it's down in there, and it's quite a bit of work to get to it to even access the pump. But basically the issue with the pump is it's not so much the pressure side of the system, the high pressure, the 36,000 psi, I believe, that of pressure that it can generate. It's not that side of it. It's actually the mechanical side, the mechanics that actually generate that pressure, the rollers that are inside of the housing basically move the plungers up and down, but they're lubricated by the fuel. So the fuel is brought to the high pressure fuel pump via the low pressure fuel pump, primes up the system, and when the system's primed up, fuel's present in that chamber. Inside of that chamber is two plungers, cylinders, whatever you want to call it, rollers. They go up and down. They move the high pressure side components up and down, creating this high pressure. So what ends up happening is, because the pressures are so high, because the cam and lift and everything is so aggressive, when the system is running and there's a failure, it doesn't necessarily send the metal shavings to the injectors right away. It actually sends the metal shavings from the lower section to the high pressure side via another route. So there's one kit out there that actually claims to solve the problem, and I believe 99% of the time solves the issue of this CP4 failure, and that is the SNS disaster prevention kit. Now, why does that kit work when the others don't? So it redirects the fuel. It feeds the high pressure side of the system with a third filter. So we have two filters already on the truck. We've got the one down on the tank. That's the primary first line of defense. And then we have this one here. This one filters down again to a smaller micron, then feeds the CP4 pump, and then the mechanics of the pump actually go up and down and move around and everything, but they're creating the pressure with, at the same time, lubricated by the fuel. So if the mechanical side of the pump, the lower side of it, fails, which is not that uncommon, it's very common for the lower side of the high pressure fuel pump to fail because it's doing all the work and it's lubricated by fuel. It's not hard to have the system not primed properly. It's very easy for the system to not get primed properly. A lot of times guys don't like the key cycle long enough, or for some reason contaminated fuel, stuff like that can cause the system to fail, the high pressure pump to fail. So When that system fails, it turns around, it feeds the high pressure side of the pump with contaminated metal, sends it to the injectors, and then it also sends the fuel back to the tank with metal shavings when it fails, because it has such an aggressive cam profile, generating so much pressure, all that good stuff. Not that hard for it to fail. Now, SNS's solution to the problem is to divert the fuel that would normally go from the lower side of the pump to the high pressure side of the pump where all the pressure is generated. That fuel now will enter their filter, which hangs right here, gets filtered, and then goes to the high pressure side of the pump, and it returns to the tank. So it filters everything from that lower case of the CP4 pump so that it is now filtered. So if the pump fails, then the filter will filter any metal before it gets to the rest of the system and contaminates the system. So in the event of a failure, you would still need to replace your high pressure fuel pump, but you won't need an entire fuel system. In a normal situation, when one of these high pressure fuel pumps fail, you have to turn around and clean the fuel lines. You have to clean the fuel tank. You have to replace the injectors. You have to do so much stuff, and the warranty is only valid if there's no outside force that causes the pump to fail. So say you have a high pressure fuel pump failure and you go into the warranty department and they find out that there was water introduced into the fuel or something like that. At some point, maybe water was introduced to the fuel, whether or not that's when the pump failed exactly. But at some point, if there's any rust, maybe you're the second owner of this vehicle, you don't know what the person before you was doing. At some point, or for some reason, there's water in the fuel. You don't have control of that necessarily. And who knows? Maybe it's a work truck. Maybe someone put the wrong type of fuel. Maybe who knows what was done. But when they determine that water has been introduced into the fuel system, all of a sudden, this repair isn't covered under warranty. Now, what are the odds that the CP4 pump fails on its own? Not under warranty, on its own, under warranty. I mean, it's possible, but chances are there's going to be some weird contamination or some workaround, or for some reason it's going to end up being on the customer. It happens all the time. It's very likely that as a customer, you could end up paying. You get this brand new vehicle and you're like, I want to get a new vehicle because of the warranty. And the warranties aren't bad, but they're designed to protect the manufacturer as well as the customer. So be aware of that. So the SNS kit, what it does is it diverts the fuel that normally gets contaminated before that contamination can hit the high pressure side of the pump, because the pump has two sides, the lower pressure side and then the higher pressure side. The lower pressure side builds up. It doesn't necessarily build the pressure, but it does the up and down movement of the don't get the wrong idea, but it does that up and down movement, and it moves the plungers on the high pressure side. The high pressure side of the CP4 pump is pretty robust. Very rarely has a failure. But that low pressure side is the side that has the failure. It sends the metal. Now in 2023, they ramped up the pressure a little bit here. Did that weaken the pump or make the pump more likely to fail? I don't know. But I'm definitely getting the SNS kit for this system, for this truck, so that this truck will be protected. I do believe the SNS kit, after seeing a few of those get installed, I do believe that that kit is the best. I know SPE has a kit. The problem with theirs, they just have a screen right out of the CP4 pump to catch everything. Not enough filtration, not enough surface area. You need surface area. You need a big spin-on filter like with the disaster prevention kit from SNS in order to contain all that material, because it is a significant amount of material that's going to be coming out and being dispersed into the system. So these other ones that don't have the big spin-on filter are, in my opinion, are not adequate. But the SNS, after seeing it going on so many trucks, I'm pretty confident that it will be just fine. I wonder what this is. It's like it's capped. I wonder what goes there. But comment below and let me know your thoughts. You know, these engines are very powerful. They're very fun to drive. They're very efficient. But there's that one thing that's in the back of everyone's head, or at least is now that you know, if you didn't know, about those CP4 pumps and the fact that they can fail and they could cost you a lot of money, a lot of downtime. Whereas if you get that disaster prevention kit, now in this case, you will not have the same amount of downtime. You'll have less downtime. And uh, because at that point, if in the event of a failure of the CP4 pump, you'd only need to replace just the CP4 pump. Just your disaster prevention kit will need to be replaced. And it wouldn't be a 15, 12, whatever $1,000 job, and all the downtime and all the labor and parts and just the invasiveness of that whole ordeal if it were to happen. So comment below and let me know your thoughts. Do you think these trucks are worth it in 2023? And would you just go for a 7.3? I've got my 7.3 out there parked. That's a real good truck. It's perfect. It serves its purpose. And this one here is just more fun, if anything. Certainly a lot more fun, a lot more power, a lot better towing. But comment below, let me know your thoughts, and hope to hear from you soon. Over and out.